This is One TV live from Athens. You're watching News at 5. I'm Yanni Moutsios. These are the top stories. Beyond simple logic are Turkey's demands for demilitarization of Greece's islands, says Greek Foreign Affairs Minister spokesman. Russia must respect Ukraine's sovereignty in order for security talks to be successful, UK Minister for Foreign Affairs says in a meeting with her Russian counterpart. Soccer fan murder suspect surrender. Defense lawyer says his client is devastated and has no direct involvement. Police investigating mystery death of 3 girls coming from the same family in Patras. A 20-year-old Albanian wanted in connection to the brutal killing of a 19-year-old football fan in Greece has turned himself in to Albanian authorities following a pending international arrest warrant. Defense lawyer of the suspect said earlier in the morning that his client intended to surrender, though he claimed that he was not directly involved in the murder. Suspect claimed to be devastated over the incident, lawyer said. Argis Kabanos' 19-year-old victim was fatally stabbed and severely beaten by a gang of football fans of an adversary team in Thessaloniki late February 1. Coming up next, UK Prime Minister visits NATO's headquarters as Russian forces continue military buildup on Ukraine border. Russia must respect Ukraine's sovereignty in order for security talks to be successful, British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has said entering talks with her Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. Truss arrived in Moscow this week as part of a British diplomatic effort to head off a potential Russian offensive in Ukraine. In her opening remarks, Truss warned Lavrov about the devastating impact war would have and warned of a severe response if Russia launches an attack on Ukraine. The government is currently reviewing new sanctions legislation before putting it to Parliament. Russia must respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, as Russia freely signed up to do in the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, Truss told Lavrov. If these principles are respected, I believe that in today's talks we can make progress to strengthen security for all. Defense Secretary Ben Wallace is scheduled to travel to Moscow for consultations with the Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu on Friday, with expectations for both meetings to be limited, as Russia has put forward maximalistic demands to NATO to remove its troops from member states and to pledge never to accept Ukraine into the alliance. Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs Sergei Lavrov, in his remarks, said that British-Russian relations had reached their lowest point in years and warned that Russia would not be cowed by Western threats. Lavrov emphasized that ultimatums and threats lead to a dead end and will yield nothing, and gave a clear warning that Russia will naturally reciprocate. Now let's hear what the British Minister for Foreign Affairs Liz Truss said some time ago during the press conference following the meeting with Sergei Lavrov in Moscow.
Fundamentally, a war in Ukraine would be disastrous for the Russian and Ukrainian people and for European security. And together, NATO has made it clear that any incursion into Ukraine would have massive consequences and carry severe costs. There is an alternative route, a diplomatic route, that avoids conflict and bloodshed.
Coming up next, Greece rejects Turkey's Ministry for Foreign Affairs demands for demilitarization of Aegean Islands as irrational. United Kingdom Prime Minister visits NATO's headquarters today, where he held talks with NATO's Jens Stoltenberg in Brussels about the situation in Ukraine. Boris Johnson said the Ukraine crisis has entered the most dangerous moment as Russian forces continued their military buildup on the borders of its southern neighbor. British Prime Minister said he was unsure whether a decision has yet been made by the Russian President Vladimir Putin to order an invasion. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg expressed his worries about the developing crisis in Ukraine and commented that this is a dangerous moment for European security. Boris Johnson emphasized that though the United Kingdom and NATO would not intervene militarily if Ukraine was attacked, Moscow would face unspecified economic sanctions. Now, this is what Secretary-General of NATO Jens Stoltenberg and the United Kingdom Prime Minister said with regards to the Ukrainian crisis.
This is a dangerous moment for European security. The number of Russian forces is going up. The warning time for a possible attack is going down. NATO is not a threat to Russia, but we must be prepared for the worst, while remaining strongly committed to finding a political solution.
This is probably the most dangerous moment, I would say, in the course of the next few days, in what is the biggest security crisis that Europe has faced for decades.
Greece rejected on Thursday Turkey's latest demand to demilitarize its islands, saying they go beyond simple logic. Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu reiterated his country's call on Greece to demilitarize the islands, warning that if Athens does not change its stance, then the debate questioning their sovereignty will begin. Regarding the latest accusations of Turkish officials about the status of the Aegean Islands, we reject them in their entirety, Foreign Ministry spokesman Alexandros Papaioannou said. These accusations not only do not comply with basic principles of international law, but they also go beyond simple logic. The Greek position on this issue has been expressed repeatedly and publicly, Papaioannou emphasized. According to the Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesman, Athens has sent a letter on the issue by Greece's permanent representative to the United Nations to the Secretary General. The fundamental rules of international law, and in particular international law of the sea, are utterly ignored by Ankara's unilateral objections to the delimitation of the continental shelf in the Eastern Mediterranean, Papaioannou stated. Homicide police is investigating the mysterious death of 3 little girls belonging to the same family in Patra in southern Greece. Attorney General has issued an order for investigation after several news reports have been published regarding the unknown circumstances of the death of the 3 girls. Irida, a 7-month-old girl, her sister Malina, aged 3.5-year-old girl, Georgina, a 9-year-old girl who just recently died, came from the same family. Devastated parents of the deceased girls expressed their gratitude to all Greeks who have been very supportive and have appealed for the termination of any publication that causes further confusion at a time of great sorrow. That's all from me and of all of us in One TV for now. Next news update in Greek at 6 o'clock. Thanks for watching.